kind of dive into chapter 7, which I found really particularly really interesting. It's titled, instead of television, tell live vision, control over the masses. You kind of dive into how the main media companies are kind of owned by 6 major corporations that control the images, the narratives that's displayed to millions of people, and they are bought and paid for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Kind of dive into that a little bit.
When you have the same minds controlling minds, just know they don't want the script to be changed. It's not how this goes. There's a specific program. It's like when you as a business owner, you have the script, you know how this is supposed to go. It's trial and error. You've been through it yourself. Nobody needs to deviate from what I've established.
Yes.
That's how it is. For you, it's a good thing, but from their perspective, what they're doing, it is we have to control the minds of the people so that they do not realize what it is that we're doing. So the majority of tell live vision, I said tell live vision programming because they're programming you visually by telling you lies. It's very specific, very strategic, but they own pretty much everything that we see, not only in the mainstream news and all that, but every channel, every movie for the most part, and it has to be a certain wave of programming every year because people will start to pop out and wake up after a certain point, but it has to be refreshed every so often. That's why movie theaters, I tell people, I said, do you think they really spend millions of dollars just to entertain you? You think they're going, let's waste millions of dollars just to make you laugh? No, it is programming. That's the point. It has to be done. The U.S. military, particularly the CIA, FBI, Department of Defense, all of them have contracts with Hollywood. What? Everyone has to know this. Oh yeah, they've had contracts for years. Yes, not just to use in military vehicles for war movies and stuff, but actual writers. Certain things when it comes to writing scripts. Okay. For example, the CIA and FBI, they have contracts with certain movies, and particularly, well, we're going to add this in there, or no, we want you to take that out, etc. If you want to use this, use that. It's a very real thing to keep the people's minds in a perpetual state of psychosis, fear, or in an unrealistic approach to where they won't believe the truth when it hits them. They'll think it's fiction. So for example, when stuff happens in reality that they already planned to happen, and you point it out to somebody like, man, you just saw that movie last week, man. You saw that movie, brother. He's like, no, nigga, I just seen the documents, it's right there. Like, nah, man, see, that's how they orchestrate it. So it's a very real thing. That's why when I go to the movies, I can enjoy it, but I'm too busy counting out those zeros and ones in the matrix that I'm looking at. I point it all out, but it's a very real thing.
Keith Rupert, who is that?
What was it again?
Keith Rupert. Keith Rupert Murdoch. I think you said he owns Fox News.
Yes.
The Wall Street Journal and the New York Post.
Yes.
General Electric.
Yes.
All of those. That's it.
Yes. That's okay.
Very
again,
powerful.
One of the top U.S. military contractors for the U.S. government.
Yes.
In addition, he owns Comcast.
Yes.
Okay.
Want the umbrella. All right, go from the umbrella, go underneath it, and go all the way up that thing. And you start to realize it's normally 1 or 2 people over these main companies.
Right.
1 or 2 people. Then above all of that now, the new data that came out is Vanguard and BlackRock. Those are the 2 that are above all of those. These are the 2 companies, corporations that own all of those, including Comcast, NBC, Fox, and all that. These are the 2 top that's going to be in book 2. Vanguard and BlackRock. But it's a very real thing. This is not thousands of employees. No. Or probably there's thousands and tens of thousands of employees. But the owners, less than 10 folks. It's just right there.
Right.
And they have the same mentality. Control the masses, maintain power and control. Simple as that.
I literally now go through social media and they give you the option where you can hit the little 3 dots and then you can say, I just don't want to see it no more. Don't show posts like this. Yes. And I'm so tired of seeing people fighting in Walmart. Yeah. People getting shot by the police.
Yeah.
Women shaking their ass.
Yeah.
Excuse me. It's the same thing. I just go through it now, or hair pages. Excuse me. To where I just kind of control the information that I now receive more, even though I may follow people for specific reasons.
Of course.
But I might not be as more or less interested in the sidebar that comes along with that. Man,
it's real. They give you that option now.
Yeah, they give you that option now. It'll say, show less posts like this.
Right.
Well, see, and the funny thing is, they establish the social media so that you can post whatever it is on the internet, so that way they would have to focus less money on the budget of investigation because you're confessing already. So it's less searches because you just put it up there anyway. You told us what you eat, your kind of car, you tell us what the area you hang out in. Hell, you told us what kind of gun you use or something.
Even on Vlad TV, they tell
my gosh, that dude, Jesus.
And I'm not making no disrespect, man. He doesn't coerce anybody into telling them themselves, but I'll definitely say, man,
come on, man.
You don't have to work very hard, man.
No, it's real. So it was the way they did it at first was they just made it open to where people can voluntarily put themselves out there. Now they are kind of trying to backtrack because it became overwhelming with people posting so much to where now they give you the option to kind of scale down on things, but it's backfiring because now we're also posting documents on there that they didn't want to be revealed to the public. Right. So it's backfiring on them.
I know you kind of said you wanted to get back to like kind of establishing a brotherhood within inside of the communities to where we self-police and self-watch ourselves. And the thing with me, it's always that somebody that want to be the top dog. It's always somebody who, one thing I loved about you, even when do you know how we first met? My sister was helping me on Instagram. And she was doing, helping me find some people to help market and different stuff like that. And when she had reached out to you and she wasn't available, sometime I would be on the internet like, hey, this is
right. I remember that.
But it's really me talking like, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you don't jeopardize ethics or morale for money.
Yes, sir.
And anything that you back, we get people that call, hey man, brother Rizza, do you need my social? Do you need my card number? And I'll be like, whoa, slow down. We don't even know if we can help you. I heard y'all was black owned, but just you being a person of so much ethics and just character, and when people hear something for you, they know that it's fact, they know that it's truth, they know that it's been researched, and they know that you weren't paid, or bought in order to put your tag on it or say, hey, this is who I rock with, this is what I feel is honorable, and this is what I feel is truth. And that's one of the things that I love about you the most.
Appreciate it.
And I respect that, brother. And nothing will ever change that. Nobody can ever tell me anything about you because I go off of my self experiences of how people are handled and how I've been dealt with and how we've dealt with each other and how helpful you've been to us. Whether it was monetized for financial gain or not, it don't even matter, because in the process of helping people, you need to be able to make money to keep that machine well oiled, to be able to keep going and just pay the bills on a daily basis, to be able to do what you're able to do.
Absolutely. It's a real life. It's a very real life.
It's a very real life.
Yes.
Like they did a study with kids right now. They rather be unemployed, and they say, I'd rather not work and feel like I'm happy and then to work, because when I work, it makes me feel like I'm not happy in my life. You know what I mean? But it's a very unrealistic thing, that because you have to work and take care of bills and take care of everyday life, that you feel you have to be unhappy doing that. If you make less money, or you feel like, I can live in poverty and be happy with it, and I can make $40,000 or $25,000 a year and life is great for me, that's a good thing, because it's always, perspective.
That's true.
And that's for sure, man. Anything to iterate on that, Dave?
That's you hit it really. That's.
I'm sorry, I did all the talking.
I'm speaking the truth, bro.
Truth is truth. There's nothing really to add to truth. That's what it comes down to. It's
psychology. I seen you speak on psychology.
That's a big one. That's a big one. Yes.
We're not gonna dive too deep into it, but I remember you saying about a lot of the theses and basis of a lot of the psychology are based on old books, to where a lot of those myths have been dispelled, as far as we are the inferior, based on skin color, dealing with, has nothing to do with our brains. Kind of speak on that a little bit for me, please.
Let's see. Without going too far back in history, I'll just say one book is The Bell Curve, I believe authored in 1994.
What is that?
It's a book where they were going over the natural inferior people versus the natural superior people as it pertains to intellect. Okay. And so they were using graphs, and they were looking at different statistics and cultural standards and differences to determine that white people were more intelligent naturally. and blacks and Mexicans were less intelligent naturally. Then they were going over the IQ, and they were looking at all of that to try to intellectualize and say, well, you know what, naturally they're not as intelligent. I mean, and this was being taught in school, and it's still being taught in school right now.
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, that was the bell curve specifically. That was, again, which it's not true, obviously, but that is something that was instituted throughout the area of psychology, because psychology and psychiatry have been heavily involved in the destruction of humanity.
Yes.
Okay, the area of the mind. When you go back to Benjamin Rush, the father of American psychiatry, when you go back to Wilhelm Wundt, talking about in Nazi Germany, and Friedrich Nietzsche, a lot of people quote him, but a lot of people don't really know what his philosophy was. Nietzsche, he said things like, God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. Type of things like that. And these are the mentalities of those who start to control the mindset of the minds of the people throughout, society. And even the connection to slavery and this and Russia and all of what they did in the area of psychology and psychiatry. And even Adolf Hitler himself was under the care of Karl Brandt and Theodore Morell, both psychiatrists, both psychologists, and they helped to manipulate his mind and how his mind went into that radical position. It's a lot of stuff in the area of psychology, so we have to train ourselves to get our minds back. Okay. That's the main thing.
One of the things that threw me off was the term nigritude.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, man, that's ebonics, man.
Oh, man, come on.
You just call me a nigga, man.
Right. Real smooth.
Yeah, but it was just kind of you're considered to be crazy because you want a better life. Yeah. You don't want to be a slave. You don't want to be held down, and that was considered to be a disease, man. Nigritude,
you are crazy, you're insane because your skin is black. That came from Benjamin Rush, the father of American psychiatry, who literally said that black people suffer from a disease called nigritude, which makes their skin dark. It's like leprosy. The only way to cure it is to make their skin white. This is how insane their psychology was. You even had someone by the name, this individual, who came up with a term called drapetomania, Samuel Cartwright. Drapetomania meaning a runaway slave, a person who was crazy because they want to run away from slavery. That was a disease, drapetomania. We're crazy because we want to run away from slavery. I mean, this is it's crazy, right? Like, this can't be real, but this is very real. And this is in the area of psychology and psychiatry, and they use that to manipulate the minds of the people, how they use it on black people, white people, like I said, Russians, Native Australians, all over the world. That is very real, and that also came out of course, the system of eugenics, and then that was pushed throughout the world on everybody.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Part of his reason for even coming up with this concept really was to justify slavery anyway,
Absolutely.
To continue it, right?
Absolutely.
So if they could continue it here, and then they could put that narrative out there in the world, then, hey, they're not bad people for enslaving those people.
No, they did us a favor. Yeah, those are animals. Those are people that are naturally inferior. They are inherently inferior. The way they used to talk just about human beings, whether you're black, white, women, the way they would talk about people who they said were born inferior, or they would have a term called undesirables, is the way they would class people who were born with certain handicaps, or if you were a woman, that was a handicap. Usually you're a woman. All right, that was a whole other area. Or a child, you're a delinquent. Margaret Sanger, all of them were a part of the system of eugenics. And this is really how they thought, and this is what influenced the schooling system. This is what influenced the financial institutions. This is what influenced everything in this country and in the world. It came from some very crazy as hell people. Quite literally.
Thinking in a little small box.
Right.
A little small box of thinking.
Seriously.
This is a lot to take in. I think, do you think that plays a role in why when we commit, because I hate to say, I'm a fan of D.L. Hughley, and I love him. It ain't no black on black crime. Crime occurs in the vicinity of the residency or the area that you live in.
It's called proximity killing.
Exactly. So, do you think that's why, based on those psychology laws that these people have implemented, even though we now know that it's wrong, that when white people kill, or you have mass shooters, and then you have people like us, as far as African Americans who live in the so-called hood, and we've been indoctrinated. And when you unpack it, it's really saddening, because when you unpack it and look at when we kill each other, we're killing people who look like us, who dress like us, walk like us. So it says you kind of hate on yourself.
That's a fact.
Why are we labeled he's just a thug, he's a criminal, he's just another nigga out to do damage, as opposed to, oh man, Dylan, man, he's mentally ill, he needs help. Why do you think they get away with playing the race card as far as the mentally ill card, as opposed to why is he not a thug?
It was invented for them as a get out of jail free card, literally, before Monopoly. All right, so because there's two justifications. One, we have to justify why we're killing this group, and two, we have to justify why we're not killing this one.
Right.
So there were ways that they use that, because again, and this is just the reality of how it works. If I did the same exact crime that this Caucasian individual did, same age, same city, same state, same background, commit the exact same crime, same day.
They're bringing an electric chair to
Oh,
your
come
house.
on. Come on. And this is known now. White folks, for the majority, now they're seeing it like, yeah, you know what, this is crazy. All right, now this is just, come on.
Yeah.
But that is, again, the founders were very evil, wicked people. Okay, and that's how they set it up. So to say black on black crime is a way to justify the killing of black people, rather than to say we need to take accountability for setting up the environment that created this. Because now I have to go all the way back and I have to accept accountability, which means I accept liability, which means I am now taking responsibility. That means financially I got to acknowledge it. That means I have to look at all the history books and look at what we put in those books. Damn, so we have to remove all the history books. We have to go into the environment and say, well, damn, we put all those chemicals in there to institute the different circumstances that are affecting their brain patterns and their chemistry and their body. I got to take responsibility for all that. They're going to have to undo everything that they did.
Not willing.
So they're like, instead of doing all of that damn work, let's just say black on black crime. All right?
Yeah.
You guys just kill each other. It's easier.
That's your problem.
Seriously. Take no responsibility for the monster you create. It's like Frankenstein and his monster. Dr. Frankenstein created the monster. The monster kills him. Well, you created the monster. You see? And then, of course, we take our responsibility as well. However, both sides must take responsibility and hold themselves accountable. One for creating it, the other for perpetuating it.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Okay. We kind of short on time here. I was just kind of get into chapter 10, Law of the Land. This was a really intricate and a really a deep chapter. I think out of all of the chapters, I won't say it's my favorite, but I think it's most universal because it has nothing to do with anything but the law of the land and the sea. Kind of dive into this a little bit and kind of tell us a little bit about this, dealing with birth certificates and how they're purchased by corporations and all of these, as far as the U.S. Treasury going bankrupt as a result of the Civil War, you know what I mean, and seeking help from global financiers and different stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, prior to 1914, prior to 1913, people in the United States didn't pay taxes in the way that we do today, for example, number one. Number two, birth certificates were established by the federal banks to guarantee a return on investment. So you could say it's like they bought the citizens as capital, all right? So it's like we bought people as capital and then invested in them as businesses and then projected how much money they're going to make during their entire lifespan, and then we're going to borrow based off of future projections. This is how much this person potentially will make in his or her lifetime. $1 million, $2 million, $400 million, $30 million, whatever. Cool, we're going to borrow that. Here's the value of this person. Put that on the stock market. Birth certificates. This topic, and the reason why I put it in here is because it's becoming more and more and more publicly known that people have to understand what the birth certificate means and what is being a corporation versus being the living human being that was actually born, but then you also have a corporation that is created in your exact same name.
And that's the straw man.
That's the straw man. Okay, that's that. But then you have the all caps, corporation, which is not you, but it's what they created to reflect you while they're investing in you, as long as you exist.
Yes.
So they have that, and then they also trade on the stock market. They also, when you go to jail, they invest in you in there. They put insurance policies on it. So if you die or expire, your business goes down, they recoup the money from the insurance companies. All of this is a big corporate grab. It's a big game, and it's also another form of slavery. That's also is another universal thing when it comes to human beings. We have to understand the law of the land, law of the water. You're talking about maritime admiralty, or also known as from the Catholic Church, you're talking about Roman canon law, where they were looking at how a boat operates on the ocean. You have to know how that literally connects to court systems, when you're walking into the building or you're stepping onto or from the port onto the actual boat. It is so metaphorical that has been translated into such legal documentation to where the very words themselves are legally binding words. It's a whole nother way of understanding how this system even works.
That's that Brother True stuff right there. Right. That sovereign. I'm telling you, we're gonna get him on. We're gonna get him on here.
I learned all kinds of stuff like that. But it's just knowledge. It's just I added that so that people also can know that's another part of the game. Okay. You have to know this. We have to know all these things. Whether if you subscribe to it or not, at least you gotta learn about it.
Right, man. This has been an honor.
Man, come on.
Message to the millennials.
You know it is,
Brother Rizza Islam. It's an honor to have you here.
You already know, brother.
For our first show, I think this is absolutely, this is astounding. We appreciate you. We appreciate you, Dave,
yes,
the guy behind the camera, Yuri. Thank you for being here with us and helping us with everything. It's going to be a wrap. Until the next time show, we'll talk to you another time. Bye-bye.
Reform Alliance, you already know.
Reform Alliance.
Peace.